Hey friends, happy Monday! Today we are talking about the 40 things to give up for Lent and beyond. Today we are giving up the lack of counsel. Now here's the thing, you don't know what you don't know. Do you believe that? You may think that you know, but the truth is you really don't know. As we grow older, many of us, we wish that back when we were younger, we knew then what we know now. As we grow older, our parents grow wiser and wiser. And maybe one of the most beneficial lessons that we learn as we grow older is that we don't know it all. And so that's why we are giving up the lack of counsel. And as we seek counsel in our lives, one of the places that we can turn is to our peers. It's good to have a community around us to share similar experiences. But when it comes to seeking counsels, we need to go beyond our peers. We need mentors in our lives because oftentimes our peers share the same struggles as we share ourselves. And as we share our struggles, sometimes we're not able to see beyond those struggles. Imagine if you're drowning in the water and there's someone next to you who's drowning in that same water. It probably would not be good to seek advice from that other person. But rather, what do? You look to the shore. You look to someone else who has come up out of the water that they might be able to help you also get out of that water. And so we turn to our peers, however. Sometimes we find it much easier to turn to our peers and pool our ignorance together. But the problem with that is we may never move beyond our present challenges. Looking outside your group of peers may be uncomfortable. It may stretch you in some ways that you don't want to be stretched. But the thing is to move beyond your current circumstance will require new ways of thinking, new ways of seeing, and new ways of doing. This we don't discover from our peers, but we discover this from mentors in life. A story I'm reminded of is the story of King Rehoboam in 1 Kings chapter 12, verses 1 through 24. King Rehoboam was the son of Solomon. And when Solomon died and King Rehoboam took over the kingdom, he was confronted by some of his subjects. Now, some of these subjects had suffered greatly under Rehoboam's father, Solomon. And now they came to Rehoboam and they asked if Rehoboam would lighten the load. They asked if Rehoboam would relent on some of the overbearing policies of his father. Now, Rehoboam, when presented with this request, rather than going to the experienced advisors of his father, he went back to his friends from his youth who had no experience governing. And so what happened? Rehoboam failed to relent. And the subjects who had suffered greatly, they revolted. The kingdom was divided and Rehoboam barely escaped with his life. If Rehoboam had listened to the counsel and aid of his father's experienced advisors, none of this likely would have happened. But Rehoboam thought he knew better. And rather than putting around himself people who would tell him what he needed to hear, he only put around himself people who would tell him what he wanted to hear. Part of the role of seeking advisors in our life is telling us what we don't know, telling us what sometimes we don't necessarily want to hear. But when we come to know and when we hear these things, we are better informed to make better decisions in our life. And as we seek counselors in our lives, it's good not to limit ourselves to just one source. We need to consider a multiple of sources in which to learn from. A couple of those sources where we learn and seek counsel from, first of all, and maybe the most important one of all, is the Scriptures. It says in 2 Timothy 3, verse 16 and 17, all Scripture is God-breathed, and it's profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and training in righteousness, that the man of God may become complete, equipped for every good work. Another place beyond the Scriptures that we seek aid and counsel is the community called the church. Now, we know the church is not perfect, but the church is God's gift to us where we can share a journey together with others and share and learn from each other's experiences. Another place I often turn to learn from others is books, and this is an easy thing to do. Beyond books, sometimes I go to conferences. Conferences are a great place for learning, but maybe the most important value in conferences is networking with others who might be able to mentor you where you are at. websites and blogs. There are many great online communities out there to become a part of that can help you along the way. Then there are just mentors. Mentors in life. Mentors, people that you know. People who are more advanced or further along in the journey than where you are. We would do well to be more intentional, to seek out mentoring relationships in our life. The last thing I want to mention, and I mentioned this one last, but certainly it is not least, and that is prayer. Ask God to reveal His wisdom to you. But make sure that when you ask God to reveal His wisdom to you, you watch for Him to do so. It will usually come from one of those sources that I mentioned previously. So where do you need wisdom in your life? Is your marriage struggling? At work, are you stuck in a funk? Are you having trouble connecting with God? Seek advice, seek counsel, seek wisdom. If you could have figured it out on your own, you would have done so already. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because we don't know it all and you're not expected to know it all. That's why God gives us many mentors in life. Well, friends, happy Monday again. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow, Tuesday, as we continue 40 things to give up for Lent and beyond.